I believe we're live, and we've already got a lot of messages in the chat. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
A lot of messages?
Yeah.
Some messages.
We have some messages, yeah. I think that's a lot considering I haven't read any of them. Yeah, thank you to my husband for joining me tonight again. We're doing our best with the audio. I know that being a little bit further away from the mic is not optimal, but we'll endeavour to persevere. I think that's a tautology. But I asked for your questions, and I have them. I'll read them on my phone. But first, I want to talk about marriage from my own point of view and what I've learned from 4 years of marriage. It's our 4-year anniversary this week, and it's actually almost my 4-year anniversary of starting YouTube. But I didn't divulge it at the time. I didn't want to sound inexperienced, but we were only married for a few months before I started my first YouTube video. We moved in here, and I don't know if that was somehow subconsciously a trigger for me starting a YouTube channel, but yeah, we moved in here right after we got married. Up until that point, I was ostensibly living with my parents, but we did...
No.
Really? Okay.
I think it was... I don't know.
Okay, I think we were kind of beyond that. There was a kind of middling stage where I was kind of between two places.
I feel like it was a year, but it may be, being generous, it was 6 months that you were living.
Okay.
Because you were unemployed.
For a
and
little
living
bit, yeah.
at my place. And then you got this job, and then we moved.
Okay. Those details aren't important for the viewers, but thank you
that's just
for
establish
correcting
the
me.
timeline.
Okay, we've known each other for...
I think it's important because some people have the philosophy of never not marrying before you've moved in with somebody.
Yeah, they think that moving is the important tester of the relationship.
Yeah, which
I can see the logic in that. You didn't want to get married until we'd lived together. I wanted to get married. Do you remember having that conversation?
Yeah.
I was going to get into this discussing, getting into questions and all that, but maybe it is important just to establish our relationship that I guess despite our conservative political views and family value, traditional values, our gender roles probably aren't very typical, and you never proposed marriage to me. I was always the one pestering you about it.
Well, I think that is typical.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The typical is the man not wanting to propose and the woman wanting the man to propose.
Yeah. But I was literally saying we should get married.
Yeah.
Now I wasn't dropping hints saying you should propose.
That is the standard. Yeah.
I never even expected a proposal because I knew you would not want to buy a ring. I knew you would not want to be on a knee.
Yeah.
And typically, if I want anything done in terms of our relationship, in terms of buying a new place, making moves, it's usually me who's badgering you about it. Which I guess is, that's the typical kind of wife stuff, the nagging.
Yeah, you're a typical nagger.
Yeah. Okay, I've got your questions here, but I'm going to get round to that. I have a philosophy I've discussed a long time ago on this channel about love, which is that love is wonderful. It's very nice to be in love romantically, but I think the notion of finding someone who's right for you is probably functionally quite sensible, but then also I think you could probably how much you love someone is not a very good indicator of how good your relationship is going to be. I think my philosophy of marriage is based on the idea that it's not about, it helps to be in love, but the marriage is not about being in love. The marriage is about living together, running a household together, and raising children together, in the sense that those are the things, if you can do those things together harmoniously, the fact that you're in love is almost like a cherry on the cake.
Well, I feel love is probably a leading indicator, but not a definitive. I mean, it depends on the person. What I suspect is that low IQ people will fall in love with inappropriate people, or let themselves fall in love, or confuse lust with love. I mean, it's very like there's no like love detector. All these people that said they were used to be in love with somebody, you don't really, you don't know they were in love.
Okay. What do you think love is, in terms of romantic love?
Yeah, I guess it's like a obsession kind of thing, isn't it? That's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're thinking about someone all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fixation on somebody. I think there's, depending on how strong your will is, you can minimize it. So maybe that's like what is the 5 factors personality thing?
Ocean. Openness to
good at working. Conscientiousness. Maybe like conscientiousness allows you to is a factor towards controlling your like falling into love.
Okay. I think there's I didn't want to talk about love too much because like this is a stream about marriage.
Yeah.
And but my point is that I don't think marriage is that. I don't think love is that important. I'll just clarify before I come off sounding like a real harridan that I come from a very traditional Christian family where my parents met. I believe they met like 3 months before they got married, or
really?
maybe they said that they started dating 3 months before they got married.
It's just there.
They didn't live together. They just they got married and then they moved in together, and that is the traditional way things go. And we'd known each other for a long time before we started dating, and I felt like I knew you pretty well. And there came a point where I just thought, like, if I can't make it work with this guy, I'm not gonna, I can't make it work with anyone. So why not you? I was in love with you.
That is romantic.
I wanted to marry you, and it was like, what am I waiting for? Like, I knew you were serious about me.
Yeah. And
it just felt like we were delaying the inevitable, which is that was the indication you were giving me, was that we would eventually get married. I just wanted it to happen sooner.
Yeah, I know that. I wasn't like strongly for or against getting married.
Yeah.
I would say I was more strongly for it, but it was like getting a new TV. It's something that I'm gonna do. I might not do it immediately, but it's something that's gonna happen. I'll just do it.
Yeah.
When.
Well, it is kind of in your personality, like I said, to be like that. Like, you wanted to get laser eye surgery for many years.
Yeah, well,
and you probably still want to, right? You wear glasses all the time. They're not reading glasses. All your waking hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for bathing and sleeping, you wear glasses all the time. Yeah. And you've wanted to get laser eye surgery, and the financial burden is not like a big deal for us. Now it kind of is. You used to have a lot more disposable income before we were paying off a mortgage.
No, I think I've got more disposable income now. Okay. I don't think that's really it. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, it is just that emotional hurdle of like getting past, like, I'm going to do it now, I think, for you.
No, I'm still like, it's not like a new TV.
It's not like a new TV.
I still have medical, like, curiosities about, I don't think it's something that's been studied.
Really? Like, long term?
There's I think it's broadly safe. But I also think it's not that inconvenient to wear glasses.
Okay.
And once you've got it done, it doesn't actually stop you needing glasses.
But you just don't need them as much.
Well, you might. It depends. It's a crapshoot. Okay. It's not a crapshoot. I think your eyesight will then degrade from that point onwards. So it could be 10 years later you might need, or 5 years later you might need very weak glasses for some occasional use. So it's sort of I mean, I don't. I think this is off topic.
It is off topic. Thank you. I didn't want to interrupt. Before we get any more off topic, I want to lay down what I think is. I put it in the title of this video. I came up with a broad formula for what I believe is like a formula for a happy relationship. And it goes for romantic relationships especially, but also for other relationships. And this is what I have learned from my marriage to you.
Okay.
And I haven't discussed this with you. I'm hoping to get your raw reaction.
Okay.
And I think it's really interesting, and it's kind of embarrassing to talk about, but the kind of weaponry that married people use against each other, that when you're in a serious relationship, like even friendships or family relationships, but I think especially a marriage or a romantic relationship, you have such a capacity to hurt the other person by anything, just by like a look, looking at them wrong, saying something with the wrong tone. It can be so painful. I don't know about for you, but for me, it can really sting, just like the subtlest thing. And like on the flip side of that, there's a wonderful capacity for like a joyful moment that can like alleviate, it can just brush away like whatever else is like bothering. I'll just talk about myself. Whatever else is bothering me. Like if we share a happy moment, like a joke or a hug or a kiss, we watch a good movie together.
Yeah.
It has like a wonderful capacity to like just like sweep everything else away, like whatever else is bothering me, like whatever argument we had an hour ago. You can just like set everything back to zero in a sense, but you can forgive each other. But I think what I've seen from other people, because I really want our marriage to work. I want us to be happy together. So I'm looking at these like other people doing, other couples. How are they interacting? Like you see these couples who have been married for a long time, especially, and they just kind of hate each other, and it's so awful to witness. And the sense that I get is that they can't get past those like this like accumulation of these like spiteful, painful moments. They can never experience those wonderful, joyful moments because they're both sulking about whatever they were fighting about before. It's like they can't let themselves get past the bad moments in order to, it's like they're holding a grudge against the other person and going like, I'm not going to forgive you until you apologize, or I'm not going to forgive you until whatever. They'll just hold out against each other. They have like bad expectations for each other's behavior. I don't know if I'm describing this well. Is this making sense to you?
Yeah.
I mean, your parents are divorced. I don't know what it was like to witness that, but
same as all the other times.
All the other times of what?
The whole thing was the same. Monotone.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't want to talk to you about that. I didn't mean to bring it up, but I think that the way that I'm calling it a formula is that it is just this case of like dragging around the last. You can have good moments, you can have bad moments, or you can have like neutral moments. But the good moments can be just so easy, and that's what I think people don't get right, or that they can't get right, but for whatever reason. It's not that they're like, just try this one easy trick and you can fix your marriage. So like, I think they get to a point where they can't just like offer their spouse a cup of tea and go, would you like a cup of tea? Like honestly, like expressing the desire to do something nice for someone else without that person somehow construing that as a bad thing. Without their spouse accusing them of like, saying it with the wrong tone or offering it in the wrong spirit. And when really I think relationships, at that like high tension of this like really close relationship that I'm describing, where you have the capacity to make your spouse happy or sad so easily, it becomes like a mirror where you can't. I don't think it's common to have a situation where one person is like oblivious or having a good time while the other person is miserable. What happens is that you get a moment, you say something, you say something either intentionally or unintentionally that hurts the other person, and then their pain becomes your pain. It's like a reflection. It just bounces right back. And it might even be worse when it's reflected back. But, you know, there's guilt, there's, like, denial, and in the same way, if you do something nice, the fact that you've done something nice will make you feel good. I think that people get caught up in, like, who's doing what for who. Like, who's winning in the game of who's the better spouse. When they're saying, like, you're not doing enough work. Like, I need you to do more. When I think that's completely the opposite reaction, where if you're doing more, you're probably really pleased with yourself. You know, it's probably, like, genuinely making you happy to be doing stuff for your spouse, for your family, like, to be doing stuff around the home that is just improving your life together. That's not your burden to, like, to whack the other person over the head with. That's the bliss, doing something nice and knowing that it'll be recognized. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That was it. Yeah, I guess people. Yeah, someone says scorekeeping in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone literally does the scorekeeping. I mean, I don't literally do it. I guess it's interesting because a lot of people watch my videos and they kind of get the idea that they know what I'm like, but you really know what I'm like.
Yeah.
I'm quite moody, and I can carry around a bad mood for, like, hours.
Oh, that's just a woman thing.
Okay. Well, I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe this is a good time to just, like, thank you, because I really appreciate it. If I'm in a bad mood, and often, like I'm saying, it's often not because you've done something bad, it's because I've done something bad, and then you got mad about it, or you, like, noticed it. You noticed that I failed in some way, and the fact that you noticed hurts me so much, and that will make me sulk for a really long time. But the fact that you do it all the time, I don't even know if you do it on purpose. You, like, you know, you reach out to, like, forgive me without, like, having to say anything, but just to, you know, you lighten the mood with a joke, or, you know, we go to bed and we just, you know, make a contact, like an actual physical, like, not even if it's not a cuddle, just, like, touching. It's like it's forgiven, and we can just go back to zero, and I don't have to feel guilty anymore about that. That's just, like, yesterday's thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
I appreciate it, and I'm not. I think anyone who can do that for their spouse is a hero, and you're doing it right. Oh my god, I'm crying. What I said to you before the stream, which was to sum up everything I've said before we get into the viewer questions, I think our relationship, what I've learned about marriage, kind of just reiterating what I said at the start. You are my husband. You are the main other. You know, you're the only other adult who runs this house with me.
Yeah.
You're the person I have to cooperate with to run things and to parent our child. You know, you are the father of my child, of our child. And those things are so important for the way we interact. Like, every day is like, all of our interactions are defined by those relationships. The fact that we're in love is like something that we get to enjoy, sometimes. if we ever get a moment together to just enjoy ourselves, then I can enjoy being in love with you and you being in love with me. But most of the time, our marriage is defined by the fact that you're my husband and the father of my child, and
yes,
the other adult who is involved in running things around here.
It's like a war, yeah. The logistics. Yeah, people think about wars and it's all shooting and like maneuvering and all that stuff, but like most of war is just like logistics.
Okay, what does that mean?
But war is like love. The fighting.
No. I mean, what is the logistics? Like location, or
What, you mean the logistics of war, or
yeah?
logistics?
What is, like if logistics aren't shooting people?
Logistics are like you run out of ammo. You
supply line.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's about getting the oil fields.
You need to. Well, you just No, that's not logistics. I mean, this is tiny. That's not
tactical.
That's strategic.
Okay.
That's like the stuff people think war is about. Like war is about like being able to this unit is going to use up this amount of ammo, food, and water every hour, and you've got to then be giving them that amount of food and water every hour.
Okay.
But you've got to maintain. You've got to have a certain amount of people delivering that. Yeah. It's there's a lot of like boring background stuff going on. And that's carrying 95% of the entire. Yeah, if you can get that bit sorted out, the actual tactics isn't overly important.
So that's our marriage.
There's that's how a functional. Yeah, there's also non-sexy. I mean, that's sort of the broader sense.
Who's going to clean the toilet?
Yeah, who's going to clean the toilet? Yeah, how to decide to do anything. Yeah. What to do every day when you've got an option between A and B. Yeah, it's all that stuff. I think most of the marriage working stuff is just it's the same tools for interacting with anyone.
Yeah, that's what I'm there. I kind of wanted to bring that around as well. Like this, everything I just said is like true, but to a lesser extent of. Interacting with your mother, your colleagues at work, your friends. It's just that the tension is so much lower. For friends especially, it's like you can just forgive it. You don't even notice when the other person says something.
Well, obviously, the stakes are lower.
Yeah.
But it's still higher than you might think. I mean, being able to work with people in your work environment. Yeah, it's almost the same as marriage. Like, you can't win a fight with your colleagues. Yeah, you've got to go work with them.
Okay. What do you mean win a fight then? Is that the Jordan Peterson kind of point?
Yeah.
You don't want to defeat your wife.
No, I was saying you don't want to defeat your work colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to you're going to have to go back and work with them. It's just exactly the same set of psychological attitudes you'd have that you'd use in either situation. Maybe it's possible that you could be really good at marriage and terrible at everything else, but I don't think so.
Okay, you think some people just have emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, and they're good at managing relationships?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a mix of
experience.
Yeah, it's probably like a mix of intelligence and the 5 things. What are they called?
Ocean?
Yeah, what are they called?
I don't know.
The broad term for personality traits.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember it's something like that. I don't remember the exact wording. I found the comments. I didn't write them down or anything special like that. I should have had a notebook, but
yeah.
I'm just I literally have not filtered these. These are just what everyone said. We got one question in the live chat, which I feel like we can prioritise because this person might leave if we don't answer their question.
Yeah.
I think I won't scroll back up because I just can't be bothered. But they said they were asking based on our discussion about the role of attraction in love and marriage. I guess that's something that I heard reinforced by C.S. Lewis. We both read the Screwtape Letters recently in our own little 2-person book club where we read the same book at the same time. He said, I think he summed it up quite well, saying that in the Bible it doesn't say that I can't word it, is what he's heated, obviously. You don't stay married only as long as you're in love. Like your vows don't say, what God has brought together, no man shall pull apart. Like, there's nothing in that about staying in love or about that initial spark or attraction that brought you together. Like, that there's absolutely nothing in the Bible about that having to remain in order to justify the marriage. Whatever it was that brought you together, you're married now, and that's for life. Like, whether you're happy or miserable or in love or you hate each other, you're married. and that's the bond that cannot be broken.
Yeah, I mean, I thought his best point was just about how I think maybe he was overemphasizing it, but I do think it's a good point where he's saying that not only is love not sufficient in itself, but actually love can be a bad indicator in that love plasters over any of the problems that you have with the other person because you're in love with them. And then once that love goes away, all you're left with is the bad things.
Yeah, I think this like love goes away, but I want to be absolutely clear that I think that it's better to say the attraction, that like I guess what you might call like being in love, where like is like a really intense attraction of wanting to be together. That you get much more of this. It's kind of like being someone like you're like dying of thirst. And, in the first, like, weeks, years of relationship, you're still quenching that thirst. And, when you've been together, it's like you just can't be desperate for each other's company when you have each other's company all the time. There's, like, that desperation, it just can't be maintained, even if the love is still there in, even more magnificent ways than it was before. We have a super chat, which absolutely must be prioritised. For $4.99 from the English Loyalist, can we call this the Polish War of 2021? Winner watches the kid, loser cleans the toilet. Well, what's the war? Like, who are we? What's the competition?
Why is it winning to watch the kid?
I think that is, yeah. That's marriage. It's like, do you want to watch the kid or clean the toilet? Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with parenting. Like, people always say, like, oh, you'll miss it when they're gone, or, you got to really appreciate it while you still got them. Like, these are people whose kids have grown up. We talked about parenting before. I don't want to go over it too much, but it's the same thing where if your kids have grown up and left, obviously you're, like, dying to have, to have that connection with your child again that you had when they were a little child, when they were little. And, but when you see someone every day, for hours, you spend hours and hours together with your spouse or with your family. It's like you just can't, you don't have that same desperate need to see the other person when you have such an oversaturation of time together. Oversaturation makes it sound like a bad thing. I just mean, by necessity. We're spending time together, and that brings me back to what I was saying before, is that time you spend together has to be good. It has to be joyful. When you come home, you need to be happy that the other person's there, that you get to like spend time with them after spending 8 hours apart. And if you don't, like, I think it's like that's awful. I think when you get these couples who, as soon as they're in the door, like they meet at the end of the day, as soon as they meet each other, it's like a fight or some kind of negative experience. That's when things start to get difficult, I think. I had another point there. I've forgotten it.
You should have written it down.
If I wrote everything I was going to say down, I wouldn't have time to say it. Okay, should we get into these questions? First question from the video I put out asking for questions was, I split up with an ex over morality, and I've always wondered about how other couples handle major moral disagreements, if they ever have any. If they even have any. I don't think I can relate.
No.
When I first met you before we were a couple, I thought you were amoral. I thought you were because you were like more conservative than literally anyone I'd ever met before.
Yeah. Which
now is like one of the things I like about you. But back then I was still quite they call it blue-pilled. You ever heard that expression? I was a little bit blue-pilled and cringe.
Yes.
So I didn't like that about you, and I guess I could call that a moral disagreement. And I still think you're like rather an amoral person. Is it fair to say you don't like doing things for other people?
That's not true. I do like doing things for other people.
But only if, like, you decide to do it. Like, if someone asks you to do something, you often just don't do it.
No.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think you're wrong, but I don't want to bring up examples. I mean, that, like... Okay, never mind. You like doing things for me, because, like we discussed before, like, you know it makes me happy. But for most other people, I think you,
I definitely don't, like... I won't do something... Yeah, I don't reinforce bad behaviour.
Yeah.
If somebody's, like... Yeah, taking the piss, I'll absolutely not help them out and make it a point not to.
Okay.
Because you're training that person up to do that. You're going to get more of that back.
I have a friend.
I don't think I think you are a soft touch.
I'm normal.
No.
Other people just do stuff.
Normal,
when their friends ask them to do something, they'll just do it.
Incorrect.
And your friend goes like, "Hey, can you help me move house?" Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'd do that. But it's not in a vacuum. Yeah, that person doesn't respect you and doesn't return. Has never returned that kind of level of favour back to you.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Then is it even a friendship? They're just using you.
I think that's I think you're wrong, but this is the other point of the stream. Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about entitlement. I think entitlement is another marriage killer. If you ever feel entitled to someone else's, to your spouse's, like, whatever it is, to their help, their attention, it's like everything you get from them, you should be grateful for, and that gratitude will make you happy and it'll make your spouse happy. I think once you start, like, having, like, a level of expectations where you can demand things, I think that's...
Yeah, I think this is the same point you made before. It's just another way of scorekeeping.
It's another way of... Yeah, I think any... Gratitude is a wonderful thing to feel.
Any time you start, trying to level the playing field or whatever, it's like the only person you can ever keep score with is the other person.
Mm.
So there's not going to be a third party that's going to turn up after 5 years and go like...
Well, people go to a marriage counsellor, I think, hoping that's what will happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to... Yeah, realistically, that's not going to happen. There's not going to be a person that turns up and goes like, okay, I've been keeping score. You are in the wrong. And you win.
I was going to tell a story about a friend of mine who thought that you should be treating me better. They were, like, appalled that I was splitting the bills with you. When we were living together, I was paying half the rent. I was paying... You were paying for all the utilities.
Yeah.
So I was paying a little bit more than half rent to make up for that, because you were paying for internet, water, heating, all of that.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember me paying more than half the rent?
No.
Okay, well, it happened, and I got into a fight with one of my friends about it because she thought that was, like, bang out of order.
I mean, that proves that you weren't living with me.
Yeah. No, I was paying rent, so I guess I was living with you. They can't really deny that. And she was also upset that you didn't, especially because you didn't drive me places. Like, that's a very, like, traditional gender role thing where I couldn't drive, I didn't have a car at the time.
I would drive you places.
You would drive me to the station.
I drove you to all sorts of places, but it wasn't like you're just talking about that one time because I wouldn't drive into.
No, whatever. Look, you're completely right. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
You were right. I thought she was bang out of order for telling me what I should be entitled to. I was very happy that you would drop me at the station instead of taking. You would never drop me at the airport. Whenever I was going abroad or whatever, you never pick me up at the airport or drop me off at the airport. You always take me to the station, the train station, like nearby.
Yeah. And
it's like, I'm happy that you did that. It's like, if you wanted to drop me at the airport, that was fine. It would have been more convenient for me. But like, I'm not gonna say you have to do that just because you're my boyfriend. And, like, you're the man and you have a car. Like, I'm not entitled to your time in that way, I think. So I think, anyway, that's... I just kind of finishing off that point about being selfless and selfish. Well, that's not really a moral disagreement. I feel like we didn't answer the question because I don't know. Like, I think you don't believe in abortion. Is that right? What's a moral value that you feel strongly about that we can talk about on the stream?
Not recycling.
Well, yeah, okay. If I put things in the recycling, they have to go to the recycling immediately. If they hang around in the house at all, you'll put it in the bin.
Yeah, I mean, I do strongly dislike anything that makes people feel good about themselves that isn't good.
You're like, yeah, cycling and recycling. You're like probably your biggest versions of that.
Yeah, I think it's literally. I think it's morally one of the most corrupting things you can do.
Yeah.
Is to do something that makes you feel virtuous that isn't virtuous.
I think that's accurate.
Because like I think there's a certain like, some human beings like doing nice things and some don't. Like there's a different thing, but there's easy routes to feeling good about yourself, and there are harder routes to feeling good about yourselves. And you can convince yourself you're doing a good thing. Like most people will try and gravitate towards the easiest way to make themselves feel good.
Yeah.
And I think like
that's the virtue signaling thing.
I mean that's kind of like
I feel like you knew about virtue signaling before there was a word for it.
No, I came up with my own word, but never you caught on.
Yeah.
Remember more?
I do remember, but I feel I'll blush even saying it on the stream.
It was moral onanism.
Very classy.
Yeah.
I feel like virtue signaling kind of highlighted the signaling part a bit more.
Yeah, I remember Douglas Murray came up with his own one as well. Like before, but I can't remember. Like, virtue signaling really took off like 2011 or something around then. But Douglas Murray on Question Time said like polishing your halos.
Yeah. I don't think he came up with that. I've heard that before.
Well, either way, like you.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard it apart from him.
I do. I never thought about this before, but just because you said moral onanism, the polishing of the halos does sound like it kind of sounds a little bit masturbatory. Like there's kind of that imagery in that. I guess I've got a dirty mind. I never thought that until you just said the two things next to each other. It does sound a little. I don't know.
Yeah, we still do have one cup and saucer plate each.
Yeah. We've got 2 plates that we use for guests, but they like are stored in a different place and they never come out except for like very rare occasions. But sometimes the baby needs a plate, and we only have 2 plates, so we use mine or yours, and then if we need a plate, we'll get out one of the guest plates.
It's not they're like locked off. It's just they're not in the standard rotation.
And we got extra cups as well. It's just they're just not in the rotation, and you literally hung the mugs in a place where I couldn't reach them without a stool. So that I'm extremely disadvantaged from like being able to get the mugs down. Which is like it's a I understand the logic of it. Some people would say you're quite cruel for doing that.
I think it's cruel.
You have low expectations of me because you can reach the mugs. You're like half a foot taller than me.
But I don't get them down.
Yeah, exactly. Because you think less of me than you think of yourself.
No, I think I didn't do that growing up. I didn't get exposed to that level of discipline, and I wish I had done.
Me too.
Because
it's a great system. I agree.
I didn't like having piles of old cups and stuff in my room, but I would occasionally have like an old cup in my room and stuff like that, and they'd be hanging around, and I wouldn't wash them up immediately. I just stick them in the sink, and it's like, why do you need more if you just have to just wash them up as you go.
Yeah.
And it makes it easy on yourself to not have the other cups available. You just get into a habit of it, and I don't think about it anymore.
Yeah.
I just completely autopilot, clean my cup, clean my bowl, clean my spoon, put it away. It's no bother to me now because it took me years to actually do that. And
I think this might sound off topic, but I think it's absolutely on topic. Because anything you can do to make chores easier to do, whether that's moving stuff around or just changing how you do things or when you do things, it's going to help the marriage as well. If you're both doing chores, especially, just make the chores easier. Keep the stuff tidy. Just tidy up as you go. It's something so simple that you don't even think about, but it'll make your spouse happy. Like whether you're the tidy one or the messy one. Most people like being in a tidy space regardless, and if you both get to live there, you'll both be happy.
Yeah, I mean, functionally, it's easier to live in a tidy space than a non-tidy space.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it doesn't, regardless of whether you are a tidy person or not, if you put an untidy person in a well-organised place, they'll do things faster and easier with less effort.
Yeah. Same thing with the baby. Like anything to do with the baby, make it as easy as possible for each other. Put things in easy-to-reach places. Unless it's mugs that you don't want them to use. It makes things so much easier. And I think I've thought about if we get round to having another kid, which I hope we do soon.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm an expert at this point about I've only had one child, but I feel like I'm an expert already. And I will be making videos or a video on lean
baby.
Yeah, lean newborn care. Maybe I can get Paul Akers to put it on LinkedIn or something. I think he did that on the last video. I think he didn't share it.
No.
But he did watch it.
Yeah.
And if I take on his advice, I bet he will share it.
You have to point at things.
And remove the camera slowly, yeah. I mean, that's good advice for video making.
Yeah.
I don't usually do handheld stuff. Anyway, it's the same as any other chore. You put things that you need in the right place, and it makes changing nappies, feeding, cleaning, changing clothes. I mean, it's all easier.
Also making the right place the easiest place to put it.
Yeah, choose where the place is and just do it there. Sometimes for some things, changing a baby is like wherever the baby is, that's where you do it. Often.
Well, that's why we've got nappies in every room.
Yeah.
There's a specific place for nappies in every room. And a specific. Yeah.
I'll be covering all that in my later video when we eventually have another baby.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a long answer for that question. I know myself...
Is that the moral question?
Yes. I know myself, a woman who became... Oh, this is the mother at 16 thing. Wrong question. Okay. This person says, congratulations, thank you. A stable marriage requires an unremarkable amount of work from both parties. Such accomplishments are not to be taken lightly. I would love to know how you two met and how you two built your relationship, so please feel free to talk about it. I think the thing about the work is that people always say that about marriage, like it's so much work. And it's like, it's only work if you consider like being alive work. Like doing the dishes is work, but you've got to do that whether you're married or not. I think. Yeah. It's like if you're living with someone, you've got to be the best person you can be.
Well, you've got to figure out some kind of system to...
Yeah, it's like you should be doing that even if you're single. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is how much work life is. Like, parenting, that's hard work. Marriage, that's just like living the best way you can, which you should be doing anyway.
Yeah, what was that thing about carrying the other person on your back? Or...
From Tolstoy?
Was that it?
Okay. I'm not going to say this right. Maybe I should just read the quote. Tolstoy, in one of his novels, there's a dialogue happening between two guys. I think one of them's single and one of them's married. And the guy who's single, he's complaining like, oh, but if I got married, if I'm chasing skirts all the time, looking for a wife, I'm not going to be able to, like, do painting and reading. Like, I won't be able to pursue my career as hard. Like, I'm singularly focused on that. And the guy he's talking to, like, I think he's married. He's like, no, you got it all wrong. Marriage, imagine you're dragging a heavy boulder. Your life is the weight that you're dragging, and love is like another weight of like a similar size that you've got to drag around. You can't drag both. You can only drag one or the other. Like you have to choose your burden. But if you're married, you're strapping that love to your back. You're freeing up your hands by tying the burden to your back, frees up both your hands so you can commit fully to pulling everything else. Like once you've got your marriage settled, you're fully freed up. To do whatever you want with your life. Yeah. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the hardest things I felt I had to do is taught my daughter when she became that age. Oh, this is another single mum thing. Okay. I really should have written these down ahead of time. Okay. How did you meet? Oh, well, that was the other question. We actually skipped past that one. And I won't talk about this loads. There's a long story, but I won't go into it. We met in our hometown. In my hometown, you lived nearby for most of your life. And you used to work in a game shop.
Yeah.
And then when you stopped working in the game shop and got a proper job, you still used to hang out in the game shop.
Yeah.
And I had friends who would hang out in the game shop, and I didn't like playing Warhammer, and that you weren't even playing Warhammer at that point either. But just because it was just a place for people to congregate where we would.
Yeah.
Some people would play Warhammer, and then everyone else would just stand around and chat and talk about video games and stuff. And you were there, and I was there, and we had mutual friends.
And you were there.
And you were there, and we got you put on a song, because you used to work there, so even though you were no longer a staff member,
yeah,
you had, like, you had a certain, like, role of the roost. So you, like...
Chat energy.
Yeah, chat energy. And you put a song on through the sound system in the shop. Like, you went behind, you invited yourself behind the counter and put on a song.
Yeah.
And I recognised the song. It was Jonathan Colton... Re Your Brains. Re Your Brains? How do you say it?
It's re.
Re, yeah. Like, re is in, like, regarding.
Yeah, re.
In the email, yeah. Re colon Your Brains. It's a good song. You probably know, if you know any Jonathan Colton song, it'll be that or Still Alive.
Yeah.
Or Want You Gone. He did this Portal soundtrack, both Portal games, and he does these, like, cute songs, like comedy music, that is also, like, good music. It's not like Weird Al, like, covers. Like, he writes original songs with funny, clever lyrics. And you put on Re Your Brains, which is a song about zombies, and I knew that song, and I was, like, eager to let people know that I was, like, in the know about this cool zombies song. So I was like, that's Jonathan Colton, isn't it? I was like, this guy put on the song. I'll let you, look, it's Jonathan Colton, isn't it? It's Jonathan Colton. I'm, like, so desperate just people don't like me. Not, I don't mean, like, romantically, I just mean in general. Like, I was at that age where I was just, like, desperate to impress anyone. I was like, I know who that is!
You're very impressive.
And then we talked about Jonathan Colton for a bit, and that's how we met. Yeah.
I told you about the Sad Dog song.
Yeah, I didn't know the Sad Dog song. We got another super chat for $5. Enjoying the wholesome stream. Thank you very much. I'm glad the audio is coming through.
It's quite a Reddit story.
Well, look, it's like, yeah, it's the start of a love story. Like, what do you? It's gonna be a little bit cringy and a little bit nerdy.
Wouldn't have to be.
Well, you mean like I was at a bar like waiting with a martini for a man who I wasn't that impressed with, and along you came in your tuxedo with, said something really suave and.
Well, there's a million other things that wouldn't be.
Like, that's the opposite. That's like the least cringy thing. That's like that's the Chad way to meet women. They're already waiting for another man, and you just like Al Pacino in that Set with a Woman. Yeah. This woman's like 40 years younger than him, and he just like demands that she dances with him. And she does. Okay. So that's how we met. I've got another one here. Could both of you describe a situation when you felt the other completely had your back?
No.
I don't know. Every day. For you, I've always been impressed with myself for turning down that mortgage broker who was trying to sell us a mortgage we didn't want. And I just, like, put my foot down and was like, we're not signing it, we're going to a different mortgage broker.
I don't remember you being that definite at the start.
No, it wasn't. I was like very...
Did you feel like that guy was a bit dodgy? And I said, yeah, I think he was a bit dodgy.
But I felt incredibly embarrassed about it. So the fact that I was able to stand up for myself was like a life-changing moment for me.
Well, I think it's a bit easy when there's like hundreds of thousands of pounds on the line.
Yeah, I had to. Basically.
If you were selling you a hamburger, you probably should have bought it.
Yeah, I would have bought a hamburger, but he was like trying to make us feel guilty about not taking it. He was a real slimeball.
Yeah.
But he was like acting like he was our friend, and many say that marriage takes hard work and communication. I'm neither communicative nor hardworking. Is there any hope for me? I think you're not very communicative, like on an emotional level, but you still get by.
Yeah.
You don't use words.
Yeah, there's different ways of communicating, isn't there?
Yeah, people these days like to talk about love language. Basically, this is what you fellas watching need to know. Women like to hear how much you love them and how beautiful you think they are. That for them is that, most women have a love language that is literally language. But for men, it's like, rubbing their back, rubbing their feet, cooking them a nice meal. That's how you tell a man you love him. Like, you say you love him and he's like, oh, do you? You make him like a nice meal. You actually like put effort into making it as good as you can. Like you can pour your love into anything that you do for each other. I think food, especially for men, though, it's such a cliche. Like a man's heart. You get to a man's heart through his stomach. But I think, like, just coming back to that chores thing, like, you get the meals right. If you can make good meals for each other, I think you can have a good shot at happiness. So no, you don't need to be communicative. Hardworking, I think you probably do need to be.
I think you need to be communicative, but I think because people think that, or might think that means specifically verbal communication. Yeah.
You need to be, like, you need to notice things. I think.
Not those kind of things.
If your wife's in a bad mood, I think she'll try to be subtle about it often, but I think women aren't very good at being subtle about their bad moods, and it's probably quite obvious a lot of the time. So, like, just notice she's in a bad mood, and you're halfway there.
Or just randomly guess she's in a bad mood. Right.
I mean, that's exactly it. It's like, if you
assume she's in a bad mood unless she's laughing.
If you do something nice for your wife, if she's in a bad mood, she'll forgive you, and if she's not in a bad mood, at least you did something nice for your wife. I think that's actually not a bad advice. I think hardworking. If something needs to be done, you got to get up and do it. Having a kid is like that as well. Like even if you're not hardworking before, like you will be, because there's just there's no one else to do the work. If it's 1 a.m. and you need to change your nappy, it's like, who else is going to do it? Like that's whether you're hardworking or not. Like it's just got to be done. So you do it, and then you can kind of train yourself to be hardworking. I think that way. Marriage is a bit like that, but you can kind of put things off a bit easier.
Yeah, I suppose that would be like a toxic relationship, is where somebody was willing to work hard and built up resentment.
Yeah, I think built up resentment is
That's what I mean about like not doing things for people.
Yeah, you gotta have a line, otherwise you're just gonna start hating them. But I think I like doing things for people. Like, even if I'm not expecting them to do something for me. Like, I just, it's like, it's like a fun reason to get out of the house for me often. It's like, yeah, give me a reason, like, I'll get out of the house.
And I think sometimes also it's a bad thing for them as well, because they're not learning to be a better person. You foster a dependency. They're not learning that it's a bad behaviour for them.
Okay. I think there's some wisdom in that, yeah. Definitely. Has having kids decreased or increased any likelihood for you to see others as children in certain contexts? I find this kind of difficult, or like a weird question. I don't think I really understand it, but no, I don't see anyone as children. A toddler is like no one you've ever met. Maybe when they get older it'll be like that, but like for a toddler it's like you've never met someone so demanding and like emotional and like unforgiving in your whole life. Like there's no way, like you can't compare a toddler to an adult. Even like the rudest adult you've ever met is not anything like a toddler. So I would never think of a person as a child in that way.
Yeah.
Is that how you understand the question?
Yeah, as a general point, I think people's all adult behaviour is like has its roots in childlike behaviour. There's better sort of coping mechanisms that people develop to sort of like soften the edges of their their childlike behaviour. Like in children, that you're seeing it raw. In adults, you're seeing the same behaviour, but it's sort of smoothed out.
Okay. Do you think you've got better at recognising that childlike behaviour since becoming a parent?
No, I've always not always, but like a definitely over time and experience. Yeah, when you're a kid, you feel like kids are kids and adults are adults.
Yeah.
When you've like gone through that and you've seen people go through that, you can kind of see like, oh, that person acts the same at 11 as they do at 25.
Yeah.
They're the same person as they were then. Like, I know what they're doing to sort of makes them look more grown up, but they're the same person. They're doing the same things. They're reacting in the same way.
Yeah, I think that's just that's something about growing up.
To that question. That's just a parallel point.
Yeah, I think it's just something you get from growing up, and like the just adulthood loses that allure of maturity. Like some adults mature, like some children are mature, and some adults just are immature.
Yeah, I think. Like I said, I don't think you don't change much as you get older.
Interesting. I suspect being married has some unusual challenges as well as rewards. Okay, that's just a comment, not a question. Okay, that was not for us. What's the hardest thing to learn about each other since you're married?
I feel that anything.
You thought I'm the same as when no, nothing mysterious. I think since I mean, I'd be surprised because it surprised myself. I'd be surprised if you didn't find it surprising. I'm not wording this right. After our baby was born, especially when she started to grow up a bit and become a bit harder to manage, I developed like a temper that I never really had before. Like almost like daily, I'll get quite frustrated. Like I said, like a toddler is like not like an adult. Like you can be the most patient person with adults. I've never lost my temper. Like I can name like 4 times in my life I've lost my temper with an adult in my whole life, and like now that happens like once a week at least with the baby. And I don't mean like I'm not like abusive, but there's times when I'm just like and I always be surprised. Like I would think that you would find that surprising from me, given it's not something that came out before in my relationship with you.
I don't think it's that surprising, no.
Okay. You were expecting it, or?
I mean, it's, you're emotional, and toddlers put a strain on people.
Me and my wife, so this is a super chat from David Mitchell, probably not the comedian, or the author. For $5, me and my wife are both autistics too, and just tips for autistic married couples. I suspect you are I think you're more autistic than I am, and I'm like a borderline case.
I think you're way more autistic than I am.
This is something we argue about a lot. I don't know if this is something actually autistic people argue about.
I think you can't spot emotions in people as well as I can.
Okay.
Just today, like you didn't, there was that daughter and mother.
Yeah. And
I told you it was a daughter, and you said, oh.
I wasn't even looking at them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, whatever. I'm more autistic, okay. Just to be clear, neither of us have ever passed an autism test.
Yeah,
we've never
failed the autism test.
Neither of us have been diagnosed with autism, but I think we're both autistic. I actually don't think I'm autistic. I think there's something else going
I think
on with me.
It's obviously an overdiagnosis around you. It's a very fashionable diagnosis these days.
Yeah.
Like dyslexic used to be a big one back, like 20 years ago.
I mean, this person says that we have unusual. Maybe this is the same person who sent the super chat, but that one I said was just a comment. Said that they suspect they had some unusual challenges. Since they said you, so they could be the plural you or the singular you. They said you are certainly not typical. Maybe they meant neurotypical. No, I think you know your rigid your rigidity when it comes to like rules and roles and like it's not tyrannical, and I think in some cases it's actually it brings out the best in me. You know, talking about doing chores and stuff like you. Maybe it's not the same thing as autism. So to give like a kind of a neutral example of what I'm talking about, you won't wear a wedding ring. You wore a wedding ring for 5 minutes at our wedding day.
Yeah.
In that picture.
Yeah, I know what it looks like.
I'm showing everyone else. But after that, you've never ever worn it. You've never put it on for a picture or an anniversary or anything.
No.
You won't wear it.
I don't like jewellery.
You don't like jewellery, and you didn't want to wear it. And you were absolutely, like, unflinchingly rigid on that.
Yeah.
Like, from day one. And I just, like, when you've got an opinion like that, I wouldn't even call it stubborn, because, like, being stubborn kind of requires, like, a kind of arms crossed, like, you know, feet spread, you know, like, standing up your someone and going, like, no. You're not even there, you're just like, we won't do it. Like, make me. And, like, I think you're like that on a lot of things, and I actually kind of appreciate that. Like, you don't let me get away with stuff. Or maybe you think you do. I feel like you don't let me get away with anything. Which I think is, if that's an autistic trait, I think it's probably a good thing. And I wish people were more autistic.
I think I'm fairly easygoing about almost everything.
From your perspective, yeah.
But it's just that some things I'm not. That's why, you know.
Yeah. I'm just reading I've got another 50, I still can't remember what that NOK currency is. I looked it up a few times and I can never remember. Almost a new week. Happy you all have a good one. Hope you all have a good one. Yeah, I mean, the weekend always goes too fast, and then like get to Sunday and I feel like the weekend's already over. But actually we got like a few hours left. And I'm having
some hours of sleep as well.
Oh yeah. But by the time like I wake up on Monday morning, I'm kind of ready for the week, but I'm definitely not ready for a new week on a Sunday. That's completely irrelevant though. I don't wear my ring either. Says someone in the chat. It's not that uncommon. I thought it was like very weird. I thought like if you're married, you wear a ring, and if you're not married, that's how you let people know you're not married, is if you don't wear a ring. But like you pointed out, like it's none of the royal family men wear.
Well, I know specifically
rings.
Is it Prince? What was his name? The second in line.
Andrew? I don't know.
Prince Charles' son, not Harry. Well, whoever that is, he doesn't wear a ring.
Okay, just him.
And it's also men didn't wear rings until the 1940s.
Yeah, it's a new thing. Yeah.
It's a very recent. It was a purely women-only thing. Women would wear a ring.
That made me feel better about it, to be honest. When you told me that it wasn't really super traditional, I'm like, well, never mind then. If it's not even really traditional, then who cares? It's just a modern phenomenon. Like, yeah, men wearing jewelry, that does sound very modern when you think about it, doesn't it? Although actually, toffs have always worn jewelry. I think we've got more. Okay. Someone just says congratulations. Thank you very much for everyone who's sent their congratulations. I mean, I feel like 4 years, like, that's really, like, if it ends before 4 years, like, you've seriously made a misstep. But the fact that we lasted this long is like, yeah, obviously. Like, if we lasted anything less than this, it would be extremely embarrassing.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry for anyone in the chat who got divorced after that many years. But
I don't know how many years it takes to become not embarrassing. It's just sad.
Yeah, I feel like 10 is like, double digits, it feels like a big difference, like between a 10-year marriage and a 9-year marriage.
Do you remember what the thing was for this wedding anniversary? I mean, I haven't actually hit it yet. So.
Wasn't it plastic anniversary or something?
No, I think it was.
The American one, I remember.
Or something?
The American one was flowers and something. Food? Flowers and food? Something like that. Fruit. It was fruit, yeah. Flowers and fruit. But the English one was more boring. I don't remember what it was. This was an interesting question. Probably, getting saucy for the chat. Not that saucy. I'm always having some questions on how the guy, the man, suppresses the urge of having more than one lady in their whole life. Most males have the tendency, I suppose that means the tendency to want to have more than one. It's within sort of male nature. Any male says otherwise, probably lying. For the young lady, that's other question. Someone else. Any male answers for that? I actually have an answer myself. Womansplaining.
That just seems like a lot of work, doesn't it?
Keeping more than one woman.
Yeah, well, trying to go.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like it's one thing to imagine that you like go out into the world and women are just like flinging themselves at you, and all you have to do is just hit one up and you can go and have sex like no strings attached.
In a Mad Max, where I'm Immortan Joe, and I've got like a harem, like that sounds
fine.
Well, that's it doesn't sound too stressful.
Yeah, but what I was trying to say is that most men, they probably did quite a lot of work to get that one woman, and just as you say, like they'd have to go through, or you would have to go through a lot of work to, go on dates with other women. Like if you wanted to have an affair, say you had that tendency, like what you have to meet someone, you gotta take her out on dates. Like even if you could do all this without me finding out, then. Like, it's just a lot of work, just like you say. And then when you finally get to that, the choice of infidelity or not, it's, that's kind of a different matter. The fact that you've gone out, like, if you had, a dating app on your phone or something that you're, putting work into every week in order to try and have an affair, I feel like that's on, another level of duplicitous and evil. It's like infidelity. It's like if I kind of feel bad for the kind of Joss Whedons of the world. You get these, smart, sensitive, kind of beta male types who become, very successful. And then, their spouse, who they probably got married to before they were a big hotshot, is, not as hot as the girls who are, not as hot or as young as the girls who are now, extremely interested. They don't want to, marry you. Joss Whedon, I'm saying, they're just there because they love Joss Whedon and he's the director on the movie or whatever. And I think he cheated on his wife, and I feel like that's a kind of a whole completely different strata. She was probably a what?
Bitch.
His wife was?
Yeah.
Is that what you think about men who cheat? What? Okay. Anyway, I think I got my point across, right?
Yeah.
Too much work, that's what you said. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here we go. I'd like to know if if the person of a famous YouTuber, I'm not famous, has trust anxiety, because while I understand nothing replaces a shared history and happy marriage, an army of orcs is always just outside the door, so to speak. As a man, I'd worry both that my fans are going to get more aggressive, attractive, that's a weird way of wording it. They're going to get more aggressive as Poe gets more famous, pull factor, but I'd also less and less want to say anything that might upset her, push factor. This is some kind of terminology I'm not aware of.
Yeah, that sounds like some kind of...
MGTOW. Okay, as the activation energy for cheating is lowered. Yeah, the activation energy, that's same as the last question, what I'm talking about. It's lowering, as you gain status, it becomes easier to cheat, and the people you're cheating with are probably not expecting much out of you. Yeah. They're not expecting a relationship, so you can, with one and done it. If you want to have an affair, just go and do it. TLDR, do you get cock of Damocles anxiety? That's a question for you.
No.
Yeah.
I've seen most of the...
You've seen the Sims?
Most of your Sim fans are yeah.
Yeah, I think Chads have nothing to fear from Sims. Okay, this is not a question for us, I think. Okay. The age gap between you is unusual by modern standards. Were you intentionally seeking partners of different ages, or did it just happen? Is he allowed to order his own dinner yet? There's loads of questions all in quick succession. So do you want to... I don't know. You weren't seeking a girl my age, I'm guessing.
No.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely not. I mean, like I said, we knew each other. We were friends for a while before we were a couple, and I think the age gap was a big deal for me because you were just like a level above every other man like I've been friends with. It's like when you're at school, you only meet guys your age, or like teachers, and there's nothing in between. So meeting you, it was like suddenly there's like someone who's not a guy my age, but he's also not like an authority figure or, you know, like my dad's friend or something. So it was weird to like, even like I kind of didn't know which category to put you in. So I didn't see you as a romantic possibility for a long time for that reason. But now I think it's something I don't even think about, except for like thinking about how other people see our relationship. We're very much equals. Like I don't consider you like a wise old sage or anything. Do you ever think of me as being younger?
No, like I said, like people are the same age. People are the same, regardless of their age.
Okay.
Like, yeah, not 100%, but
you don't get more mature.
I think there's some degree of that potentially. Mm. Yeah, I think I was. Yeah, I could have been more mature, but when I was younger, but yeah, I wasn't exposed to the restrictions or whatever. Yeah.
You think if you'd been drafted into a war at the age of 18, you would have come out as more of a man?
I would have been still the same person, but yeah, that's it. I think it's you're more or less the same person throughout your life, but there are like modifiers you can apply to that, and like as you get older, usually you learn how to cope with your downsides more and how to accentuate your upsides. But yeah, those upsides and downsides are still there.
Okay.
I can't remember what the question was.
Were we seeking out partners at different ages? No. If are you allowed to order your own dinner yet? Do you want to field that one, or are we just step over it?
Yeah, I mean,
you were never not allowed to. It was just the case of efficiency.
Yeah.
Right. We went out to dinner today. It's just whoever's talking to the waitress.
And most of the time we eat in and make our own food, and all of the food we make here is my design.
We make food according to your recipes, yeah.
Yeah.
And if I deviate, it's usually a big it's a big deal. The chili is my design though. I mean, not that it's like a revolutionary recipe.
Yeah.
I think I was the first one who suggested like making.
I meant chili.
Yeah.
Beans. The chili packet.
Yeah. Well, I often decide what kind of beans to put in. Anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. The big thing is the cooking of the tomato sauce for 5 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just to clarify for the 400th time, you've always chosen your own food. Unless I know the restaurant and you ask for a recommendation. It's not like I'm ordering for you in the sense that I'll look at the menu and decide for both of us.
My philosophy is I generally don't enjoy eating out because I consider myself to be pretty good at cooking, and I dislike paying for things that I can make better or as good.
Yeah. And
I've never eaten a meal. Well, I've never eaten a meal that I thought was significantly better than anything I can cook.
What about paella?
Yeah, there are like a few. I mean, I could probably cook something better than that, as good as that paella, but it wouldn't be paella.
Yeah, I mean, you did end up you tried it for a few weeks after you ate an amazing paella. You tried making paella.
Yeah, we went to that other place that made paella.
It was really
terrible.
crap paella, yeah. Yeah, the paella you made was much better than like a lot of paella. It was just that one Borough Market paella was really good.
Yeah, I mean that was a really, really. I mean, Borough Market's very famous for being high quality food. So, that's at restaurants. It's like it doesn't matter. Like whatever it is, if you really say you really like spaghetti bolognese, and they've got spaghetti bolognese, they might have a really bad spaghetti bolognese in this place.
Okay.
So it's a real that's the other thing I dislike about restaurants is that you don't know what they're really good at unless you go there and you sample everything they've got, and even then they might have a bad night. It's a complete crapshoot.
If you could go anywhere and do anything, what would be your dream holiday together? Oh, and I can answer this for you. Your dream holiday is to have time off work but to not go anywhere. Is that accurate?
Maybe. There'll definitely be one of my dream holidays.
I've been to a lot of places that I loved. There's places I'd like to go. I mean, it's like ordering in a restaurant. Like, I don't know if the countries I haven't been to are better or worse than, like, Amsterdam, Tokyo. These places that, we went to Bruges together, Brussels. All these cities that I loved going to. I don't know if going to Istanbul is going to be better than Tokyo. I could go, and that would be, normal. But in terms of, a dream holiday, I'd probably just go with Tokyo again. If we could go together, I'd like to go to Tokyo with you. And we will one day, if you ever stop having kids and let them grow up.
Well, I let kids go to Tokyo these days.
Look, I'm not taking 4 kids on a plane to Tokyo and then
That sounds like a good rom-com.
It's like they take they always want food, or they need their nappies changed, or they need to go to sleep in the middle of the day. It's really just not conducive to going anywhere.
Well, the older ones look after the new ones.
Yeah, whatever. You always yapping on about this. We could do things. As far as I'm concerned, once.
It's hard enough to get that's the other thing about going to places is
planning.
It's planning or not planning. I think the best thing is you either have to completely plan or just go and just don't care.
Okay.
The worst thing is trying to squeeze too much stuff in. Yeah, let's go to this place for 5 minutes. Travel time 15 minutes to get to the next place. Try it.
Yeah.
But then again, it does feel like a wasted journey when you go to a place and you don't see the X that is in that place. So you do feel under pressure to see that thing because it's such an effort to get. It's such an effort to go 2,000 miles to get to that place, and you missed out on seeing that thing that was 5 minutes away.
The next question was: are we planning to have an additional 1.1 baby to maintain the population? And I think we're just going to keep having babies until it becomes unmanageable.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Can you recommend any couch co-op video games? You want to field this one?
Yeah, there's loads, isn't there? I mean, you've
Overcooked.
I would say you are the weakest link as far as I've enjoyed more than you have. So
the best couch co-op games I've always found are just one-player games that you're both there for. Yeah, playing Slay the Spire together.
Yeah.
Actual couch co-op games.
I mean, you just like watching me play it though. But
you'll watch me play it though.
I don't know what that is. But yeah,
I'm just not invested when it's you doing it.
Turn-based games are quite fun to watch.
Yeah, XCOM.
There's not. I feel like I'm almost playing it when it's.
When it's being played.
Well, it's I'm trying to inform your decision, so it's like a group effort. But the actual Lovers in a Dangerous Place-Time is quite cute. I think Overcooked is really good. I mildly prefer the first one, although I do prefer the second's more rigorous scoring system. But you're a woman, so you don't really care about autistically drilling.
Rock band games. That's great. I mean, if you've got a space for guitars and drums.
Yeah.
We had a really good time. We just spent 1 week or 1 weekend, set up all the stuff, play all the games. Play Beatles, Rock Band, and then just put it away. Don't keep it all out. It's all just clutter. But if you get it out and spend you really rinse the games, you can have a really good weekend.
If you're wealthy enough, you can have a game room and you just have it.
Terraria, we had fun together.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's basically Minecraft, isn't it? 2D.
Yeah.
So it's Minecraft. What was the other ones we played?
I think we spent too long on this question already. This person, just on their own, has asked 4 other questions.
Okay. We should try and up the pace.
Yeah. if you had to drink urine, would you rather drink your own or swap with your spouse? I'd drink your own. What do you think?
Yeah, probably.
All right, let's just keep going. Oh, this question. Okay. We got one from the. I thought it was the English loyalist because the profile picture was the same, but the name is different. So never mind. Do you think the only factor should be love, so-called? So how marriage used to be about the state pooling resources or bringing up new life? Catholics outproducing Protestants. Yeah, quite a long comment. I think this is just about the value of marriage itself. What is it for? You got any answers for that?
Well, I think you could talk about that for an hour.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I always find it an interesting question, like, why did we get married? You know, it was like, if I'm going to marry anyone, it's going to be you, and I want to get married. And I never, like, thought through, like, too much what it really meant to want to be married, except that, yeah, I guess that's what
I think it's an explicit commitment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have children with someone, because you want to do that with your life, you want that person to be utterly committed to you and the family, in whatever that means, like in the biggest way possible.
Yeah, but both people want that, because to be committed, you want the other person to be committed. It's a game theory thing, isn't it?
Prisoner's dilemma.
No, it's a game theory. It's you could just describe it as a game where the more you're willing to trust, the better the outcomes will be. So you want to push the trust. You want to show the most explicit commitment you could possibly make in order to ensure both of you do that, and then both of you are willing to trust the other person to invest even more in it.
Tail feature in the chat. He gets preferential treatment because he's a personal friend. Asks how many dates before you know they're the one. I've talked about this before, and we didn't go on any dates.
Oh,
we went to
on dates, but yeah.
We went on like outings. I remember the first like
an outing is a date.
Well, I think people think of a date as like dinner and a movie. Like we went to see other movies sometimes, but a lot of the time we saw each other was just hanging out in your flat and playing video games and watching movies.
We also went to musicals. Yeah,
a few. Like in the space of 4 years, we went to like 3 musicals.
Well, I think it was in the space of like 18 months. We went to like 2 to 3 musicals.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's like a number of dates anyway. If you...
I think if you're still dating, then you shouldn't get married.
If you're still dating anyone?
If you're still dating.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So you're not meeting up for dates, like you should be like just hanging out together.
Yeah.
Yeah, well that's what your marriage is going to be like, so you need to like have a bit of experience about what it's like just to be in each other's presence without it being a big deal, you know, all dressed up and... You know, I think you need to know what it's like to be, like, just deciding what you're going to have for dinner. Even if you don't live together, it's like, that's what your marriage is going to be, is like, constantly asking, like, hey, did you blah, 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 blah? Did you put toilet paper on the shopping list? Did you, like, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? Have we got any pasta left?
Yeah.
This is what your marriage is going to be, so if you can't do that, then, you need to be able to...
That comment someone said once...
Marriage is 2 people
asking each other what they want for dinner until they die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it makes sense to have your dates be as much like what your relationship is going to be like, as possible. I just accidentally downvoted a comment and now I can't find it. Whoops.
Downvotes don't actually count on comments.
You can't count them. Yeah, they used to though.
Still feels good.
It feels good to do it. Oh, I've scrolled all the way to the top. I'm an idiot. Now I need to find where we were. Alright, that was the urine question. Did you live together before you got married? Yes.
Yeah, what else, that one?
Without marriage and children, no civilization. I guess that's just a comment, not a question. Okay, this person asked about divorce. I thought that was an interesting one. Even if we stopped there, we might need to stop at some point. It's been 1.5 hours, and I'm not an insane person who streams for 3 hours, usually. So maybe we'll make this the last one. What you and your husband would consider to be grounds for divorce. The reasons divorcees give are often things like being unhappy, not being in love anymore, falling in love with someone else, etc. I thought about this when I saw the comment, and I think definitely if I thought that you were any kind of danger to our child or any of our children, I would definitely not want to live with you anymore if you were like an imminent threat.
Yeah.
Like, physical abuse, definitely. Like, or sexual abuse or anything directed at the children. I think that's like, I'm not special in saying like, but that's pretty normal. Definitely would have to separate at that point. I don't know if I'd actually like file for a divorce, on the spot or anything. Like, I'd definitely try to see if there was anything we could do to like remedy the situation, or like, I can only imagine that if you would do something like that, you must have lost your mind. So probably some therapy would be in order. But I think it's awkward like talking about the separation and divorce thing. I think a lot of people get separated. Maybe it was more fashionable before than it is now. But being divorced almost feels like you're back on the market, like looking for someone else.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine being in that state of mind unless you were dead. I don't know. I find it hard to think about. Do you have an answer for the question?
I thought it was like... I think it's a silly question.
Okay.
I don't think it's... I think it's an unhealthy question to think about in a
Okay.
marriage.
Yeah, you don't want to be thinking about the marriage. I think, that's a good answer.
I mean, all you're doing is just like imagining your spouse doing the worst thing you could imagine, and then like ticking it off against. Then like if it's not bad enough, then you think up another thing.
Okay.
Yeah, what kind of game is that to play?
Okay, we have got to the almost at the end of the question. There's the last one, and it's actually 3 questions. Oh, well, it's the same kind of thing. This one's for me. Is your husband the head of you? Do you obey him? Do you think God still has a purpose for men, or are doomed to extinction through women finishing? I don't know what this finishing the beehive means.
I've never heard that.
It's a reference to Nikola Tesla, I guess. Well, I guess I can answer the first 2 questions. I feel like I often have no choice but to obey you. I said like you're not stubborn, but it's like it's usually a case of like it's my way, or like what are you gonna do about it? Like make me. I don't think I can't make you obey anything that you don't want to do. So I don't try to make you do stuff, but if we have arguments, disagreements, I think we often end up doing what you want, or is that what everyone thinks?
I feel like I said before, I think I'm fairly easygoing on most things, but if there's something, generally I'll only stand firm on something that I've thought about and
I think that's fair. Yeah,
I've considered and like gone over all the options.
I'll say that if we have an argument or we disagree about something, I feel like it's my job to persuade you that my way of seeing things is correct. Like I have to like prove it, or to I have to convince you that I'm right. Otherwise, we just do what you want. You don't have to convince me. Although you'll usually explain the logic of it, but if I don't find it convincing, tough. So I think in that sense, I do obey you. Like you don't need to convince me something's the right thing to do, because you'll just do it anyway. Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, I generally try and convince you that it's the right thing to do. That's why I'm doing it. But
yeah.
So sometimes you lack vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like this table.
Uh-huh.
That worked out so well.
No, it's alright. I don't know if we're doing much that we weren't doing before.
No, it's a lot better.
Okay. We just got one more from Andrew Bryant in the chat. Do you assist each other with work, and do you work well together? I think so. We don't work together like in terms of our employment. We're employed at completely different places doing different jobs, but we do talk about work. And
yeah, I mean, I help you out with the videos on a sort of.
you often make thumbnails for the videos, which I don't end up using.
Well, you use like a watered down version.
Yeah. You've got a very you've got a very
good eye.
You've got a strong opinion about what a good thumbnail should look like.
Yeah. I have a correct opinion about what a good thumbnail is.
Okay. All right, and I think that's what we'll call the end of the stream. Did you have any closing comments about what it's like being married?
No.
If you had to make a bet, like a bet you'll actually win money on, how many more years we're gonna stay married? Either through death or divorce.
I mean, that's exactly the same as that other question.
Okay, you're right. I think, yeah. You got to believe that the marriage is gonna work. You have to like, if you think of like the divorce as like an option, I think it's good. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea, the modern, destruction of the concept of marriage, it has come a lot from the introduction of like divorce and separation and remarriage as like an easy out.
Yeah. There is no one else. Like I'm not looking around for like who's going to be the next Mr. Poe, or who could be, or like, oh, this guy would be better to be married to. It's like, I'm married to you and that's it.
Yeah. And I think like it's one of those things that have hurt like the poorer people. Yeah, more than it has the
middle class.
Well, the more like intellectually fluid people, as you might describe it. I think divorce rates aren't that high for people that have been to college or higher education and have got married after 25. Yeah, those people are doing fine, but the people lower down the rung, marriage used to be like a stabilizing influence in their lives, and now they're entering into marriage knowing that they can get divorced, so it almost means they're not getting married. To enter a marriage knowing that you get divorced is to not really be married in a real sense. Yeah,
I think you have to be prepared to be miserable in your marriage, and if you plan for that, if you act according to the idea that you're going to be married whether you're miserable or not, then you might never have to be miserable. If you're planning for that, then you'll probably mitigate it a lot better than if you think there's always a way out if I am miserable.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what I said before, like the idea of marriage is to overcommit.
Yeah.
Like that's why people say it's silly to get married, because you can just do all the same stuff. Like,
yeah.
The concept of marriage is to overcommit to ensure that the marriage survives. You go all in, like you're committed to that person commits to you. Yeah, and that way you free your mind up from all these like silly questions about like what would it take to divorce that person. It doesn't matter. I'm so committed to this person that there's nothing they could do that would outweigh the commitment I have for this person.
Yeah.
And that way, like you said, you're not gonna. The marriage would be more successful.
Yeah. Or rather, the idea of like a successful marriage, people often frame it as like they didn't get divorced. It's like that is the hallmark of success. When what I'm talking about is like two people who can harmoniously live together. That's what I call like a successful marriage, which I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't hate it. Yeah, living with someone you don't hate. Maybe that's a low bar, but yeah, I guess. But just before we end, just to be horribly self-indulgent, I'll give a quick rundown of how we got married, because I think it's kind of an interesting story.
Okay.
After I, I don't want to make it sound like I had to bully you into getting married. Like, we both wanted to get married. It's just that I was the one who suggested it. And then when we both agreed that we were going to get married one day, I said we should just elope. We'll just go down to the registry office and we'll get married. Turns out it's not that simple. You actually have to like declare I don't know what it's like in other countries, but you have to declare that you're going to get married.
Yeah.
And they like publicize it. It doesn't go like literally in the paper, but it goes on a notice board somewhere.
Yeah.
That
It's a
theoretically
public place, yeah.
you can like go and read. So we did that. We went down to the registry office and like gave notice of marriage together, and we like they make you plan the wedding. Like you've got to. It's not very romantic in the sense of like an elopement is romantic. So we set a date. We invited 2 people, one for you and one for me.
Yeah.
And we didn't tell anyone else except for the 2 people we invited.
Yeah.
And we got married.
If they were paying attention, they would have seen it.
Yeah, they should have saw it on the notice board, really. I mean, it wasn't like we just wandered in there. You see, like I got a white dress online, which I've worn on the channel at one time. That was my wedding dress. Cost £30. And I ordered it online. I wore that. I ironed it on my wedding day, and you wore the suit that you wear to job interviews.
Yep.
And I just remember that we had our 2 friends round, and my friend met me in the morning. We were staying separately just for that night. I was staying in the place where it's all a bit complicated, but basically I stayed at our place, and you moved into this place, which is at that time we had bought, but we hadn't moved into yet because it wasn't ready.
Yeah, didn't have a toilet.
Yeah, it had a toilet. It didn't have a bath or a shower.
Yeah.
And didn't have any it had a bit of furniture. But on the morning of our wedding, I called you, and I was like still like 5% thinking that you might not turn up, or that you panic at the last minute and you wouldn't want to go through with it. So I called you in the morning, like, how's it going? We're getting married at 2:00. Are you ready and everything? And you were like, you said you were in the middle of painting the kitchen.
Yeah.
You're literally painting the kitchen on the morning where I had been like getting ready, makeup, hair, ironing my wedding dress, and like having like a nice wedding breakfast with my what you could call her the maid of honor, but she was my guest.
Yeah.
The other woman who was invited to the wedding, and you were just like hanging out here, like literally, I suppose like in your t-shirt and pants.
Yeah, I knew how long it would take to get. Yeah.
It
would take you like 40 minutes to get showered and.
You weren't late. Like you had plenty of time. Yeah. It's just that it was a completely different scale of like what a wedding normally is, where it's like such an event that you spend, 24 hours leading up to it, like preparing for it, like guests and food and venues and clothes and everything. But for us, it was like, okay, get dressed. We'll meet at the. We'll meet and then we'll go down to the registry office. 2 guests in the back seat, and then we did it.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it. It took like 10 minutes. What do you think? Like with service?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Photos.
Yeah, we did some photos. You didn't want to have any photos done, but you're an easygoing guy, so you got the photos for me because I wanted photos of our wedding. And I remember do you remember this? The woman, the officiate, she's not a priest or a vicar or anything. It's not like a religious ceremony. She's just there to read the thing, and we sign the register and all that. It's just one woman, and she goes like, "When are the guests arriving?" And I'm like, "Oh, buddy, these are the guests." And she was like, "Oh, wonderful." She said, "Oh, lovely." oh, lovely. Do you remember?
No.
It was just funny. It was lovely. I think it was right for us because we are both autistic, and I would have loved if my family could be there, like my parents and my brothers, who I really love, and who it's like just a joy to spend time with. But for pretty much everyone else in my life, that goes for like friends, extended family, cousins, like people I like. It's just a little bit of a hassle to organize people, like to have them there, and then they're like all interacting with each other, and then your family. It's just a nightmare. Like it was, like if we told our parents we were getting married, they would want to come to it. So we couldn't tell them, right? It would just be so like, it was such a wonderful day. It was just us and our friends, and then we went out to Gourmet Burger Kitchen, and we did an escape room.
Yeah.
And we had, I went on Airbnb almost at the last minute, and we found a little, what was it, a chicken shed?
Yes, chicken shed.
These people were renting out their tiny, like, to call it a cottage. It was like a cottage in miniature.
It was a bedroom. With an ensuite, which was a toilet. It was
like the size of a small hotel room.
Yeah. Like
in this very sweet thatched cottage.
The double bed took up 70% of the room.
Yeah, and at the end of these people's garden.
Yeah, it was a nice garden though.
It was very nice. In this little village, like half an hour away, that we'd never been to before. It didn't matter. Like we didn't. I just wanted to. I mean, you didn't care at all. I just thought it'd be nice to have like a teeny tiny honeymoon.
Yeah,
where we just spent the night somewhere that wasn't where we normally sleep.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a good day, don't you think?
Yeah, it was right.
You've had better? Yeah. I think that covers it. And then we told my parents, like 2 days later, we invited them round. It's so funny because when you tell people we have news, you know, they go like, oh yeah, I'm expecting they would go like, oh, they're getting engaged, or like maybe if they've been naughty, maybe they're pregnant. You know, maybe they like accidentally got pregnant. But like just telling like we got married and here are the pictures and you didn't even know about it. I thought it was kind of I got some mischievous glee out of that. You know, like what are you gonna do? We're married now. you can't make us invite you. I mean, it was a shame in some ways. The tradition of like the father giving the bride away.
Yeah.
I think probably that's the thing I missed out most on from the way we did it. I certainly wasn't going to let your friend Peter give me away. So it was just me. I was giving myself away in a very feminist...
feminist statement.
Very strong, empowered woman. I don't need a man to give me away. I've always been my own woman. And that's it. That's how we got married. And now we're here. So... thanks for watching, I guess. And for all of you who are married, I hope that you remain happily married. Or unhappily married. I hope you remain married. And I hope for all of you who have yet to find your spouse, that you have good fortune in love in the future.
In logistics.
And logistics. Yeah. I hope you have fortune in love and that you have... pertinence? No, what's the word I'm looking for? Prudence. I hope you have prudence in logistics. And I'll see you again